Good morning. Good morning, Queens. Welcome to Thursday, another day that God has made. I see y'all running in the room. It's so good to have each of you here. I'll invite you to go ahead and do our roll call, which is to go specifically under the video and either hit the heart button or hit the like button. It will register that you are here, and we are going to go ahead and get into the work. I am grateful, honey, and I'm even excited. We are 2 weeks in, y'all, meeting every day, Monday through Friday, in our new regiment here over in the community where we truly believe that we are better together. So welcome, welcome. Go ahead as you're doing and hug another girlfriend, hug another queen by just jogging under their names, putting a heart or putting a like, telling them that you're glad to see them. Good morning to everybody. You can also tag a queen friend, someone that you know may need to be here for this wellness work today as we talk about costing too much. As Jen and I were visiting backstage before we even started the broadcast, and I salute Jen on this morning. Y'all go ahead in the comments somewhere. I know y'all don't see her each morning, but she's here. And just tell her thanks for being here and being a part of this shift where we get to get up each morning. She and I were chatting in the just the back stage earlier before coming on, and I was just telling her, even in processing the lesson today, that there are big situations in my life that I too am processing. Does it cost too much? So we're going to do some of that wellness work in just a moment. Good morning to each of you again as you come. You're valuable, queens. I don't take it for granted that each of us gets up and joins our space, our safe space, where we believe that we are better together. And as Sarah posted somewhere earlier this week, where we really create a space where shame can be removed and we can be healed. Also, where I saw where Charlotte, and many of us saw that video where she posted a queen kind of stumbling and falling down and another queen coming and lifting her up. That is so the imagery of what I see in this safe space, in this place where we lift one another up, that we're really buying in and creating the community where we're truly better together. So if you're just in full agreement with that, for real, love on another queen this morning and jog right on up to the video and do your roll call check-in, letting us know that you're here, letting another queen know that you're here. You're even able to glance under those likes and hearts real quick and say, oh, I don't see Lorena, I may not see Cece or Nija or Lena or somebody, and tag their name, Miss Dorothy, and get them on into the room. Our Ohio crew with Rachel Ricks and Brashandra and May Lynn, just different people, as we really be the community that watches, that looks, that notices when other women are here and when they're well and when they're absent, and we want to check in. So welcome again to day number 12. If you're joining us in the newest version of the book, we're on page 61. It's this cover here, page 61, and the title is Cost Too Much. And most often, as we're getting ready to transition into the lesson, I try to loop us in from yesterday. And so yesterday's lesson, we talked about, let me get the specific title, hissed and jeered. And we talked about being women of character and women of integrity. And what was our tagline from anybody who was here yesterday? What was my challenge to each of us? I kept saying, blank already. Come on, it's time. Anybody remember from yesterday? Deborah, if you're here, we prayed for you yesterday or the day before. Anybody remember what we kept saying yesterday? It's time to do what? As there you go. I see you saying it. I see you beginning to say that. I'm gonna skip yours right now, G, and somebody else is gonna see it in the answers. Let's see who else. Okay, we got somebody else saying it too. Grow up. Yeah, we talked about that thing yesterday. Did anybody find themselves just saying, yeah, that's me. I see y'all grow up. So here's the thing. As we were exiting the lesson on yesterday, we talked about growing up. We talked about different things like women, as the queen did, who hears rumors and get all activated in their emotions and in their actions and in their decisions based off of rumors and implying spreading of those rumors and doing making poor decisions just based off of immaturity, and that it was time for us to grow up and be able to represent God in our character and our integrity. Y'all, and many of the discussions that we were having, it was about how we treat other people as it relates to growing up. As I was putting my book in place and just I kind of get ahead of it for the next day, and I was moving on to Cost Too Much, the Lord kind of pulled my little coattail and just dropped that nugget of resolution and completion for us. So we're all right here ready and we're doing the work. Here's where we are. The thing that the Lord dropped into my heart as we were summing up and putting a nice bow on the whole discussion about knowing better and growing up and being a certain way, a person of character and integrity when it comes to other people. The Lord said, but remember to also be a person of character and integrity. Everybody in the comments, even when it comes to yourself. Everybody say myself. Y'all, I kind of just put my book in my lap and sat there, open to his download and his whisperings, his nudging, his gentle love really had me begin to process. So what is the 11-year-old girl still waiting on Gina Lynette Jerkins to do? What is the future 80 or 90-year-old woman going to be looking back and wondering, will I be living in fulfillment or living in regret based on what this Gina Lynette Jerkins does? Everybody put yourself in that space. Sarah, what is the 12-year-old Sarah still hoping and believing that this current Sarah will finally deliver on? Who, Tracy, did that little girl envision herself being? What promises were made? I'll go back and get a degree one day. I'll go and get a degree one day. I'll become a such and such one day. I'll write a book one day, or write my play, Lori, or sing my song. What promises did we make to our little girls that these women today need to step up into character and step up into integrity and honor even the stuff that we said to ourselves? Now, I'm not talking about flaky stuff or immature stuff or even things that we no longer desire, no longer even want to be or do. But for those areas of our lives, y'all, where we had dreams and goals and visions and callings, in what ways do we need to really rise up, grow up, and be in integrity to those promises with no excuses, with no why nots, with no external blamings of who, what, and what could have, should have happened? How do we really stand in that space and, in as much as possible in our lives today, begin to create the inroads to the promises that we made to the little girl? And when we think about the woman that is ahead, when she sits on perhaps the wraparound porch one day at the center, right? Or she's on her, I don't know, in her senior living complex or whatever that's going to look like, when she's sitting and processing in her life, will it be from a space of purpose fulfilled, or from a space of regret based on the decisions that this woman who exists today makes. Everybody, let's grow up. Let's really, even when it comes to ourselves, let's be more mature in how we handle our honor or even break the promises that we make to ourselves. If we've told ourselves, even our 5 year ago self, I'll never be in a relationship that does X, X, and X to me again. Are we back in those types of relationships? If we made decisions that says this is going to be the final year that I'm going to sit in a place of employment that doesn't respect me or honor me, have we actually even began a job search? Have we actually even turned in some applications or updated our resumes? If we told ourselves, I want to go back to school, have we actually even researched some programs? How are we being in integrity with ourselves? Everybody say, grow up, grow up. Because the only person who will ultimately fulfill and work towards your vision, your goal with 100% pursuit is you. Y'all receive that with love? You hearing me on this morning? You're understanding? Yes. I see one user saying on this morning in response to that, handle me with care. Handle me with care. Absolutely. Handle me with care. Anybody else just have a comment that you're wanting to add to that piece of the conversation? Your takeaway. What's the thing? What's the thing for you that you know I need to grow up in this area as it relates to myself? Perhaps it's my health. Perhaps it's making new friendships. Perhaps it's being courageous and getting a passport and traveling out of the country. Like it can be as big or as simple. But what is the thing? What's the takeaway? What's the next step for us to live in full integrity with ourselves? To not have that little girl still looking out the window waiting and wondering when is Gina going to do or even attempt to do what she said she's going to do. To not have that 80 or 90-year-old version of me sitting on a porch thinking, man, I didn't do anything. Or man, I did everything. Yeah, yeah. So we're processing that. Let's go ahead and jump into our day. Man, that's a whole conversation, y'all. Be in integrity with yourself. I see, Jennifer, you're saying, I need to start taking more risk. I need to start taking more risk and not playing it so safe 100% of the time. Yeah. Then that little girl is waiting on you to do that. Yes. Day number 12, costs too much. Costs too much. Let's do some real talk on this morning, even as we journey into this devotional. Welcome again to the community, a place where we are better together. And we're going to do some talking on today to ensure that we are better together. As I've said, theme 2023 is well and safe. And well and whole. And I'll keep saying that until we just really embrace it. Somebody says, God sees me well and whole. God sees me well and whole. Well and whole is our theme. And we're utilizing January to take our first step towards being well and whole as a community. And that first step for us is beginning to see ourselves as God sees us. Again, as Jen and I were processing this morning, the question came, on behalf of the community, what if someone doesn't know what it really means to say, seeing myself like God sees me? And I'll give us this simple kind of description of it for now. We'll deep dive later. Seeing ourselves as God sees us is this acknowledgement and this awareness that there are many ways for us to see ourselves. We can see ourselves through the lens of the world and how the world sees us, and whether you're too light or too dark, too tall or too short, too skinny or too fat, too this or too that. Like the world has lots of ways that it can see us. Genders can see us different. The way that a man may view a woman and a woman views a woman can be completely different. Someone can see us and want us to be subservient or lesser voice or lesser importance or lesser value. We can even turn that lens on ourselves and say there's an option that we bring to the table, how we see us. And the way that we see us can be built on us knowing our own mistakes, our own shortcomings. It can be words that have been spoken over us for years and years. It can be what other people say about us and thus what we say to ourselves. We can see ourselves like that. And then there's this option. It's the option that we're going to choose, y'all, of how God sees us and how he slows down in his word. Drink these words in on this morning. Soak it in, where he says, you're the apple of my eye, where he calls us his daughter, where he chooses in other passages to say, I'll even be your friend, where he says, there's no love that can separate us, y'all. There's no no depth, nor height, nor east, nor west. There's no action that can separate us. He says that he loves us so much that he's numbered the hairs that are on our head. He said that he loves us so much that he sent his only begotten son to die for you and to die for us. So there are all of these options that exist. But it's our way when we say we want to see ourselves like God sees us. It's our way of saying, I know that I see all of these different versions of who and how I'm projected. But I really want to choose to see myself like God sees me. I want to embrace his thoughts about me. And it's even acknowledging that in doing that, sometimes I have to pull down what was spoken over me. And I have to work at not believing that I believe about myself. That I have to choose to say that if he says that I'm beautiful, that I'm going to believe that I'm beautiful. Seeing ourselves like God sees us. And I see y'all joining in. Help me, Jen. I see people saying he calls us his masterpiece. He says that we are the apple of his eye. He calls us a holy nation, a royal priesthood. So I see y'all in the comments adding the different things that he's saying. He says that we're blessed and we cannot be cursed. Thank y'all for jumping in. He says, oh, my cousins are distracted. Hey, Ann, and hey, Sissy. He's called us all of these different pieces. And it's our way of saying, I'm going to choose to believe that. So come on, community, because y'all are helping me anyway. Go ahead and drop what you say that he says about us. He says that he's our good shepherd and he's not going to let us want. He says that we're no longer orphans, but we're sons and we're daughters. He says that he does not reject us, but if we come close to him, he'll come close to us. Y'all about to get me excited. He says that we're created in his own image. He says that we're highly favored. He says that we're blessed and we cannot be cursed. He says that we'll be blessed when we're going out and blessed when we're coming in. Y'all are on it this morning. He says that he's our good shepherd. We shall not want. And so when we're saying these things, we understand that there's a whole different, somebody said he says that we're the head and we're not the tail. Somebody else just added, Arlinda, that he says that we're accepted in his beloved. Y'all, we're going to have a whole revival off of this. He says that he says that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, when you get that, when you say that's me, he says that we're a peculiar people. We're supposed to be different and stand out. He says that we are, well, we have some promises and he's going to keep them as it relates to us. He calls us his sons and his daughters. He says that we are his masterpieces. Absolutely. So it's choosing to say, I know I have been a mess at times, but God calls me his masterpiece. I know I can be petty at times and see myself like that, but God says I'm a peculiar people. I know there are times that I can feel weak, but God says that I'm wonderfully made, right? It's choosing to believe and rehearse and articulate what he says about who we are, even when we don't feel like it. Even when sometimes we make choices that are against it, it's receiving what he says as the final word on who we are. So let's go. Today's affirmation. Today, my business decisions are rooted in proven practices of success and principles of solid stewardship. I will lead with stability, not personal preferences, biases, or dependencies on familiar relationships. And you'll understand this affirmation when we get to talking about Queen Marie. Here's the part of it that I want you to underline. I will consistently assess if my personal connections are productive for my purpose. I will consistently assess if my personal connections are productive for my purpose. Why? Because God sees me as purposeful. As we continue to do our work, as we continue to make our way towards well and whole, as we continue in January to really understand how does God see me, that's our affirmation for today. I will consistently assess if my personal connections are productive for my purpose. Why? Because God sees me as purposeful. Come on, everybody. God sees me as purposeful. So I see me as purposeful. God does not see me as an afterthought, as a waste of time, as ignorant, as no voice, as no opinion that matters. God sees me as purposeful. So I see me as purposeful. Come on, everybody. God sees me as purposeful. So I see me as purposeful. God sees me as purposeful. So I see me as purposeful. So when I engage in today, when I engage with this Thursday, when I walk out of my door, when I go into my job, when I go into my business, when I engage in conversations and opportunities, I'm walking in it like I know that there's purpose over my life. God sees me as purposeful, so I see me as purposeful. I'm moving throughout my day knowing that I'm not an accident, knowing that I'm not a mistake, knowing that I'm not rejected by him, that he put me on earth intentionally. He sees me as purposeful. I see me as purposeful. I'm going to take up space. My voice will be heard. My thoughts will be articulated. I am purposeful because he says so. Again, everybody, God sees me as purposeful, so I see me as purposeful. If you have to drop off of the feed right now, then you've got enough. Thank you, Jen, for keeping it there. You got enough to move you through this day. You got enough to navigate with. You know that you're not an accident. You're not unwanted. You're not an afterthought. You're not a second thought. You're not in the shadows. God sees you. God sees you, Gladys. God sees you, Jackie. God sees you, Lily. God sees you, Michelle. God sees you, Arlinda, as purposeful. So guess what? I see me as purposeful. Tracy, you see yourself as purposeful. Tiffany as purposeful. Yolanda, Ricky, Dolores as purposeful. Let's go. So here's the scripture. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. Because God sees me as purposeful, y'all. Let's say y'all already know we're on kingdom assignment. He's already orchestrating your steps. He's going to open doors so that you come before people of influence and be a representative of him in this world. Y'all know that's where we are. We're beginning to understand even the more that we are not just existing. God has each of us here on kingdom business, on kingdom assignment. We're ambassadors for him passing through earth. And the way that he sees us is how he begins to then orchestrate our open doors. The scripture for today in Proverbs 22 and 29 says, we will not stand before unknown men. What that is really capturing is that God will bring us out of obscurity. God will bring us out of the hidden places and out of the shadows. Y'all, when we tag it all together, when our character is developed, thank you, Jen, when our character is developed, when he can trust us, when he can bring us into those spaces of kings and queens and the principal of the building and the superintendent of the district and the pastor of the church and the lead sheriff and the senator and the mayor, God begins to open doors where because he's put his purpose in us and we're sure about it, we step into spaces. And y'all, it don't even matter what their agenda is. God has an agenda and he's working his agenda through us. He's working his agenda through you and I. He's developing us, and we really got to see ourselves like he sees us, y'all. So when he opens those doors before kings and queens and leaders and even allows us to walk in those roles ourselves, we'll be clear about why we're here. And we won't go into great spaces wondering, now, why did they choose me? I don't even know if I'm really qualified to be here. We won't go into those places self-sabotaging and doubting and with imposter syndrome. We'll recognize, listen, that I can be from a little old town right up the way, about an hour and a half, don't even have 2,000 people in it. But when God lays his hand on your life and says, but you know what? You are going to be the one who executes the city's contract, and you're going to be on first name basis with the mayor. God chooses to do that. And when I show up, I'm not playing it small and playing like I don't belong here, and I've never had the opportunity to meet with a mayor or do this type of work. I show up like you've laid your hands on my life and there's purpose. Because guess what? Even in these scenarios and situations, Gina's still gonna pray. Gina's still gonna call on the name of Jesus. If you're sad and if you're low, I'm still gonna ask you, can I pray? Do you have a prayer request? I'm gonna show up representing him because I understand that God sees me as purposeful, so I see me as purposeful. Everybody in this community, God has an assignment for you. He does not play favorites. He will open doors for each of us to be in power, affluence, and influence in the worlds that we exist in. When you show up, you're not showing up weak. You're not showing up second guessing and doubting. You're not showing up depending on yourself to move you through that purpose. You're going to show up knowing God said so. That's why I'm here. God sees me as purposeful. Now, that's a whole other thing. I should be telling something else. Let's go. So here's where we're going to go with day number 12, costing too much. Let me give you the short of it for Queen Marie. So Queen Marie, let me give you the short of it. So Queen Marie is a queen in the French quarters. She's a part of the revolution, right? She does all of these different things. Well, actually, she's the last queen before the French Revolution. She does all of these different things to move her country through the revolution. But here's the part. If you join me on page number 62 in the book, we're going to go with the second paragraph just so that I can get you here. In her personal affairs, Queen Marie was accused of being recklessly extravagant and promiscuous with various suitors at the French people's expense. So she's the queen of the country of France, right? That's her position. That's her open door. Y'all got to segue and run it all together with me. Character, integrity, open doors, kings, queens, knowing your purpose. So here she is. The door is open. She's a queen. She's sitting as a queen in France, but she's reckless and she's promiscuous and she's doing it at the expense of her country. Okay? With ever increasing resentment towards her majesty, Madame Deficit became the title of choice by the public for their queen, for their unbeloved queen. They start referencing her as Madame Deficit. Think about that. In the spaces where you're supposed to be in authority, be powerful, be the ruler, be the person who's bringing about value, the public begins to call her Madame Deficit because in their eyes, everything that she does, it takes away from the people that she's supposed to be serving and leading. Y'all process and be in those shoes on this morning for when God opens opportunities for us, how we navigate it and being. So then this is what happened. The general population, Jenny, if you just give me 5, I'm going to get us there. The general population blamed her for the overdrawing condition of the budget. It was as if it was not enough that she spent wastefully, and she fought all of their efforts to do better. So what begins to happen is she does this at the expense of the country. She's putting people in place and making decisions for the people who were in the hometown of where she came from. Y'all get that? She's from another country. I'm just going to say it to y'all. She's from another country. And so she's making decisions in her new position, in her new authority, on her throne that benefits her A1 since day one, that's way from over there, right? In 2 days, in the 2 days, she was declared to be guilty and convicted of high treason, of theft, and it came with no mercy from her accusers. So literally what happens, and I'll wrap that up, literally what happens is they have a trial. She's found guilty. They just said that she's been stealing their money. She's been watching out for people from her hometown, not making the best decisions for her own self and for their country. And y'all, they decide to kill her. They put her on a cart and they ride her for an hour to the guillotines where they hung her as she died. And history does not show, as she's making this hour-long drive to the guillotines where they're going to hang her, not one time does anybody step up, There are no people from the crowd saying, let's save her. There are no people trying to rescue her. Nobody bum rushes the cart and tries to get her off. She's done all of these things to jeopardize the open door that God has put her in. And in the meanwhile, the people that she did that for, they are nowhere to be found when it is time for her to be killed. I got it, Jen. I know we're there. This is how we process that. The title for today was Cost Too Much. Have you really thought about when God opens these doors for you, what decisions will you make to preserve your own integrity and your own peace of mind? These people that Queen Marie made all of these decisions for, that caused her to forfeit her rightful place on the throne and to ultimately be killed, were nowhere around when it came to the consequences that came as a result of those choices. How do I put that in language for us? It is saying, y'all, as God is transitioning us towards wellness and wholeness and opening doors where he wants to utilize us, we have to count up the costs of our connections, of our relationships. Are there people that we're trying to drag along, trying to explain ourselves to, trying to always pump up and want them to come? But at the end of the day, their presence in our world costs us too much. It costs us to have to constantly lift up and y'all get it, because I'm right here and I got to honor this time thing. What decisions will you make to preserve your integrity, your peace of mind? When God opens doors for you as we make this journey, really processing it. So y'all go back, sit with day number 12, cost too much, and really begin to sort through the elements of your life that are just will cost too much to take along as you try to become who God has created you to be. Our only real quick announcements is, let's see. Oh, y'all, I'm so excited as we get prepared for this type of space. Our monthly Out Loud is coming for February. We're going to be able to gather. If you're planning to join us, we need you to sign up for that relatively soon so that we can ensure that we have a space for everybody. I'm calling that the February 4th, the birthday edition. We have so many birthdays in February, mine included. So it's going to be a special time of us coming out loud. As always, you can find this on www.drginalyn.com. As y'all know, it'll fill up. We're going to close it, and we'll be gathering together, just studying a piece of something and doing a deeper work. I want to make us all put that in remembrance for us so that you can get signed up. We will close it at some point. Jen, I'll get with Jen and get the real date that we're literally closing the link so that we can make preparation for everybody who's planning to attend the monthly Out Loud for February. It will be February the 4th. The details are on the website. You can hold your spot there for a minimal cost, and we'll be able to get the place and get ready to gather together. I think that's all I'm going to say on today, reminding you that you can tell your girlfriends we're live on YouTube for those who don't have social media platforms, and I'm going to pray. If you've enjoyed the lesson on today, we invite you, as always, to give us some love on another queen as well. And if you have not done your role check-in, like literally not just a little like and heart buttons as we're commenting, but you go up under the video, hit like or heart, let us know you're here. Queens, watch that list. If you're noticing that someone is not here, let's gather them into this safe space where we're better together. God, I thank you for the queens on this morning. I thank you that we understand that you see us as purposeful, so we see ourselves as purposeful. And we're going to walk throughout this day on purpose, in our purpose. Thank you that we're not afterthoughts to you. We're not a waste of time to you. We don't have voices that don't matter. You've created us for something amazing, and you're going to bring us before kings and queens. You're going to open doors that we can't even explain. We thank you that we take on courage today, and as you begin to open those doors, we're going to walk through in boldness and in full awareness that we belong right here. For all of you who are in full agreement, let's end the prayer with that statement. I belong right here. If you can be in agreement that God is using you for amazing things, go ahead and say it with me. I belong right here. I belong right here in Jesus' name. Jenna, I know they say one of our persons, I think Tracy, says that it cuts us off. So we're ending the broadcast. I'm going to say that I honor the greatness in you, and then I'm going to just stand right here for a moment so that y'all can continue to hug and greet one another, and we'll just give you that moment. As always, I honor the greatness that's on the inside of you.